Who are the targets? Corporate media. Initiate project. Hollywood Death Fakers.
All units proceed to your post assignments. All units proceed to your post assignments. Be advised.
Since the beginning of World War II, television gradually became familiar to the public. At the end of the war, it began to be manufactured in a large scale. In the 1950s, there were only 9% of Americans that owned a television, but this figure rose dramatically to 93% in 1966. In a survey conducted in 1964, only 58% of US respondents said that they got most of their news from television. Television therefore became the most important source of news for American people during the Vietnam era. During 1960 and 1964, the Vietnam War started to come to many American living rooms, and usually with bad news. The CIA and the US government grew alarmed at the influence that television had amongst people and the influence that corporate media was having on the minds of millions of people. The corporate media in America single-handedly convinced millions of people in America to go against the Vietnam War. And remember, America entered the Vietnam War after the Gulf of Tonkin incident, a false flag purposely created by the US government to have an excuse to join the war. The US government invested a lot into selling the war. But in this instance, Hollywood was backing the communists, and it was clear that they were using corporate media to brainwash the masses and to have the US pull out so Vietnam could be taken over by the communists. This made the CIA rethink their plans. After the US pulled out of Vietnam, a new era was born, the Information War, a war that would be waged on corporate media in Hollywood. The CIA would create and put agents in place to infiltrate every aspect of Hollywood and would build their own platforms of information. And today you see the mainstream media raging war on alternative media as fake news. I'll let you put two and two together.
Operation Laurel Canyon. We must infiltrate the communists in the music industry. We will manufacture dozens of acts and pick the best ones for the job. Jim Morrison and the Doors show the right characteristics.
not long before he emerged as this figure that we see here. It was a very much different Jim Morrison, very clean-cut, collegiate, almost unrecognizable. Seeing his father off as he was about to leave. I think sailed out of San Diego for the Gulf of Tonkin, and within a year he had completely transformed himself physically and emerged as this rock star, just out of nowhere. I mean, just an amazing physical transformation and an amazing transformation from someone who had expressed no interest in music whatsoever to, just like overnight becoming this huge international star.
He was, the Doors, the whole scene that they emerged from, largely considered to be the leaders of an anti-war movement. Obviously, we know what happened with the Doors as they continued, but what blew me away, Dave, Jim died the same day his father gave a speech on the decommissioning of the ship that he was the rear admiral on during the Gulf of Tonkin.
Yeah, it was very strange.
That's really weird.
Very strange timing, yeah, to say the least.
In every port, from here to Barcelona. But now I'm docked in Springfield, and girl, I'm gonna phone ya. I stormed a lot of beaches, but you're the one that I missed. Let's get back together, girl, let's re-enlist.
Ow, hot, hot, hot.
So sign me up for a hitch of love. Recruit my heart for sweet years of love.
Everybody ball walk. Oh, yeah.
Looking good, guys. And double time. That's it. Protect the country.
Groovy, dude.
Burn down the barbershop. I hate America. Lieutenant Smash.
Admiral. The hippie fantasy again?
They're getting less frequent, sir.
Excellent. Well, there's no easy way to say this. The new administration is shutting down Project Boyband.
Shutting it down? Permission to say that's crazy, sir.
You won't say it's crazy when you see next week's issue of Mad Magazine.
Oh, dear God.
When this satirical bombshell hits the stands tomorrow, your band will have as much recruiting power as a wax apple.
I don't follow, sir.
It's over, LT.
Ha!
Let's march all day and clean the trees all night.
Don't bust me down. Let's re-up tonight. Let's re-up tonight.
Gypsy girl, don't let the drugs get you.
Last week I fucked 5 bitches, don't remember one name. She wanna know more, I want one thing. Had a chicken and smoking on the tour bus. Last year I remember they ignored us. She used to fuck with ASAP. Too short, said they know the bitch from way back.
groupie hoes ain't got no morals. Where that pussy goes, only Lord knows. Only Lord knows. Lord knows.
We will infiltrate liberal platforms, pose as them and crush anyone who rejects Jesus.
What does CIA stand for?
I don't know.
What does CIA stand for?
I have no idea.
What does CIA stand for?
CIA, Criminal Investigative Association, I believe.
What does CIA stand for?
The Central Intelligence Agency.
That is correct. That is what the CIA stands for. Now, do you know what the primary job of the CIA is?
I think their primary job would be similar to the police force, but more the head of law enforcement.
Now, Marianne, what is the primary job of the CIA?
I believe it has to do with foreign intelligence.
Now, do you know the primary job of the CIA?
Not specifically. I would guess they have some work to do with counterintelligence and keeping the country safe.
Do you know the primary job of the CIA?
It's to, I guess, expose threats abroad to make us safer, I suppose.
The CIA is the foreign spying agency for America.
That is also correct. Now, they collect, analyze, evaluate, and disseminate foreign intelligence in order to help make decisions that relate to national security. So you're right.
So, Jerome, can you guess what religious group has predominantly run the CIA?
I would assume Christians or Catholics.
Can you guess what religious group has predominantly run the CIA?
Atheist. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Now, can you guess what religious group has predominantly run the CIA?
I'm going to assume or guess the Catholic religion.
That is correct. Why do you guess that?
Because I figured that they might have a lot of involvement with the CIA.
Now, the CIA has been predominantly run by Roman Catholics, and a high percentage of them have been members of the Jesuit Society.
Come on!
The fake news that thrived during the campaign.
That's fake. False news stories.
So-called fake news, disinformation. All the lies, fake news stories filling your news feed.
The Russians were promulgating fake news.
Spread of fake news online.
The Jesuit Order, the Vatican. Recently, we've been seeing the alternative media go up against mainstream on a large scale. Fake news, fake news. It's the Jesuit Order versus that other cabal. We all know who. It's the good old game of blue versus red. How did the alternative media come to prominence? Easy. The internet. A platform purposely created for an information war. Fast forward now. How did their main talking heads get so big enough now that mainstream media has to talk about them? The New Age. You see, Knight of Malta, Ted Turner, bought a little company called WCW. And we all know Ted Turner wasn't a wrestling fan. It was all done on purpose to target a specific group. Alpha males. Alpha males that would be used to create a movement, a platform that would promote the alternative rights talking heads today. In 1994, Bill Hicks supposedly dies. In that same year, Ted Turner signs the biggest name in wrestling, Hulk Hogan. That's like signing Michael Jordan or Michael Jackson in their prime for your company. Fast forward to 1996. fronts like Stratfor. Intelligence gathering groups were formed. Bill Hicks reemerges as Alex Jones on public access television, owned by Ted Turner's Time Warner. Fast forward, in 2001, WCW was sold to WWF and dismantled. This created nostalgia because, you see, at that same time, Alex Jones was producing documentaries on 9/11. So let's say a few years later, you want to see wrestling videos. You want to see videos pertaining to the New World Order, the wrestling stable. But you would get something else. If you were to type in New World Order, you would get images and videos of airplanes hitting the World Trade Center towers. And whose documentaries ranked number one? Alex Jones. All a psyop. All a ploy to build up their fan base and to one day control the narrative, the information war, helping to discredit corporate media, mainstream media.
Google is the most powerful search engine on Earth. Today, billions of users Google for any kind of information. A former student's project now rules the World Wide Web. In 1997, Larry Page and Sergey Brin developed the so-called PageRank, a complex mathematical algorithm that ranks websites by their relevance. This groundbreaking invention profoundly transformed access to information. Google rapidly became the first choice for internet search, and this was just the beginning. Today, Google earns huge profits by dominating online advertising. It's well on the way to becoming the most valuable company on the global market. But is it just about money? These men pursue a great vision.
I miss you like the desert's mystery, and I miss you, yeah, like the desert's mystery, and I miss you, yeah, like the desert's mystery. And I miss you, yeah, like the desert's mystery.
We will bankrupt Hollywood and create new media.
The latest move in the legal chess game between the recording industry and Napster is in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. The Internet Music Sharing Service filed a brief Friday asking a lower court injunction against Napster be reversed. While the fate of the case is up in the air, trading technology keeps charting new grounds.
If they think Napster's bad, I can tell you there's a lot worse coming.
You fix that problem and new technologies over here to take over. That's why there has to be an overall philosophical and legal understanding about, well, then how does an artist get paid for what they do?
The latest release on compact disc will cost you about
$18.99.
something from the bestsellers list. Average price $25. Want to see a movie opening night? Wait in line. Pay $7.50. Add cost for popcorn, candy, and a drink. $7.87. Well, your kids are getting all of this and more for free.
And the number of movies you can select from today?
Unlimited.
Unlimited?
You name any movie, I can find it for you.
Tonight, the freeloaders. Yes, you can get something for nothing.
But he's a chaos candidate, and he'd be a chaos president.
In December 2015, Donald Trump was leading a very crowded field for the Republican presidential nomination.
I'm at 42 and you're at 3, so far I'm doing
Trump agreed to go on to the Alex Jones program.
Donald Trump is our guest, ladies and gentlemen.
As you know, I'm leading in every poll.
Trump was able to gain access to the very intense following of Alex Jones's radio program, a group of people who are very cynical about the United States government and might be inclined to support a non-traditional candidate like the New York developer.
Well, Donald Trump, let me say this. My audience, I'd say 90% supports you. Okay? And
Alex Jones, he is this amazing showman.
They hate you. They hate prosperity. They hate God. They hate children. And goddamn them to hell.
He cries. He yells. He growls. He has this incredible gravelly voice.
We're going to beat your ass.
He's a quite arresting media figure, and he is thumbing his nose at the mainstream media, which he considers to be pawns of a global elite that he's very suspicious of and that he suspects is bent on world domination.
I'll give Obama this. He's bold. I could never have imagined an Islamic radical sleeper cell becoming president. I mean, I can't believe the CIA did this.
In the process of making these allegations, he has thrown out some pretty remarkable claims.
We have footage of the police saying, get back, they're going to blow up 7. It was all over the news that day. I heard it on CBS radio. We know they staged stuff. They've staged it before. And we know they were set and ready with that tragedy. The Boston bombing, that was a total drill on record with the older brother, Tamerlan, being a CIA asset on record. And again, you look at the Aurora shooting, that was totally staged.
Roger Stone, who is famous for working with Richard Nixon, persuades Donald Trump to go on the Alex Jones show. And he doesn't just go on for a couple of minutes. He's on for a half an hour. And it's this rambling conversation.
We need surveillance. We need proper surveillance. For 3 years, I've been saying hit the oil because ISIS is getting stronger. We lose with every country, and yet we don't get along with any countries. China is killing us.
There's no doubt that Donald Trump and Alex Jones were mutually beneficial to each other because his audience is specifically the kind of voters that Donald Trump needed and wanted to be talking to. On the other hand, Alex Jones was able to have a larger platform because of his access to Donald Trump. Roger Stone thinks that Alex Jones will be very useful in selling the Donald Trump legislative agenda, whatever that ends up being, to a public that is hardwired to be skeptical and disapproving of what happens in Washington, D.C.
But now they don't just think I'm Bill Hicks. They think Rush Limbaugh is, wait for it, Jim Morrison. Oh, my God. But now they don't just think I'm Bill Hicks. They think Rush Limbaugh is, wait for it, Jim Morrison. Oh, my God.
here's an interesting fact. If you go to a movie theater right now, there's a pretty decent chance you're going to be seeing a Hollywood movie with a budget partly from China. That is actually true of 2 of the top 3 movies out right now, and it's just one sign of a global power shift in entertainment that's already changing the movies you see.
Back in 1983, approximately 50 corporations controlled the vast majority of all news media in the United States of America. Today, ownership of the news media has been concentrated in the hands of just 6 incredibly powerful media corporations. These corporate behemoths control most of what we watch, most of what we hear, and what we read every single day. They own television networks, cable channels, movie studios, newspapers, magazines, publishing houses, music labels. What's messed up is that most Americans don't even stop to think about who's feeding them these endless hours of news and entertainment that they constantly ingest. Most Americans don't really even seem to care about who owns the media. It's really scary what's going on. The truth is each of us is deeply influenced by the messages that are constantly being pounded into our heads by the mainstream media every single day. I believe it's something like the average American watches 150 hours of television a month. You know, sadly, we've become absolutely addicted to news and entertainment, and the ownership of all that news and entertainment that we crave is being concentrated in fewer and fewer hands each year. The 6 corporations that collectively control the media today, right now, they are Time Warner, Walt Disney, Viacom, Rupert Murdoch's News Corp, CBS Corporation, and NBC Universal. Together, I mean, they dominate the news and entertainment that is being produced for Americans in the United States of America. I believe it's about 90% of the media is what they do control. So it's pretty much all of it. It's enough to be able to influence people by the masses. When you control what Americans are watching and hearing and what we're reading, you gain a great deal of control over what they think. It influences the opinions of Americans and what they see and what they hear. The problem with this is the consolidation. It's no longer a free press. The press is supposed to be there to be watchdogs for the people, and what they're supposed to be watching is the government and the institutions that are out there and the workings of the government and how they work for the people to make sure they are working for us still, but they are not. They have been compromised. They have been compromised to the extent to where they keep information from us. Journalists no longer report and speak their minds and speak truthfully of what they want to talk about. They are told what they can and what they cannot talk about. It's to the point where they don't even have to ask no more. If they have an idea or they have something that they want to report to the people that they think that we should know, but they know that this is on the list of no can do or I will not have a job tomorrow. The press is no longer free. The people are no longer free because we are being controlled and manipulated to think a certain way, and that way is for the agendas of the big corporations and the big banks and the money and the people that control this entire planet and have an agenda, and that agenda is not for us. It is very important for you to do your research. What I'm saying is you cannot trust the media no more. You do need to find alternative sources of information of important subjects and things that are going on in this world, because the media will not report it. They cannot, they are not allowed. What do you think would happen if the mainstream news actually told us that the Federal Reserve is bad for America, or that we're facing a ridiculous bubble that can destroy the entire world's financial system? They're not going to do that. Henry Ford, he knew this well. He knew this really well. Quote, "It is well enough that the people of the nation do not understand our banking and monetary system, for if they did, I believe there would be a revolution before tomorrow morning." The media is there protecting the government and protecting the puppeteers that are controlling our government. And there are forces at work right now that are working against it.
Our mission is almost complete. Restoration of the Jesuit order. We have created many levels of alternative media. On the front lines are our death fakers, who cannot be discredited. Since their past lives are made up, Below them are thousands of more independent journalists who put out our talking points. We are drowning them.
Maintain a heading of 093.